The first Saturday, I let myself believe my daughters and I could have something as ordinary as ice cream. My ex-husband found us in a crowded Chicago supermarket and wrapped his hands around my throat. Everyone froze. Phones came out. My little girls begged him to stop, and then a man in a black suit quietly removed his watch and rings. My name is Camille Ashford, and by then, survival had become a routine I knew too well. I worked late shifts at a restaurant, stretched tips between rent and groceries, and raised my 5-year-old twins, Josie and Willa, with whatever strength I had left. That afternoon, all they wanted was milk vanilla ice cream. Maybe sprinkles if my wallet could survive it. Josie held my hand while Willa raced ahead. Mom, you promised ice cream. I remember. Josie looked up hopefully. With sprinkles. I smiled. That depends on whether your mother suddenly became rich. She giggled. Then I saw Travis. My ex-husband stood at the end of the aisle beside a soda display. Bloodshot eyes locked on me. My entire body went cold. The restraining order required him to stay 500 feet away. Apparently, paper meant nothing to him. Josie immediately squeezed my hand. Willa saw him too. My fearless little girl ran back and stepped in front of her sister. Behind me, she whispered. That nearly broke me. No 5-year-old should know how to protect another child from her own father. Girls, come on. I turned away. Travis charged toward us. Don't walk away from me. He grabbed my wrist and spun me so violently that cans crashed from the shelf. People stared. Please, I whispered, not in front of them. He slapped me. My head struck the shelving. Then he grabbed my hair. Before I could scream, his fingers closed around my throat. Hard. My lungs ceased. I clawed at his wrist while milk fell from my basket and burst across the floor. People shouted. Call the police. Someone started filming, but nobody came closer. Josie dropped to her knees. Dad, please don't hurt Mommy. Willa wrapped herself around her sister. Her whole body shook. My vision started narrowing. Then I saw him. 15 feet away stood a tall man in an immaculate black suit. He wasn't panicking. He was watching. Coldly. Carefully. Then he removed his watch. After that, his rings. One by one. Something about the gesture terrified me more than shouting ever could. He moved. 1 second, he stood near the end cap. The next, his hand locked around Travis' wrist. A sharp twist. Travis screamed. His grip opened, and I collapsed to my knees, dragging air into my burning lungs. Let her go, the stranger said. Travis swung at him. The man stepped inside the punch and hit him once. One clean blow. Travis crashed onto the tile. The stranger calmly adjusted his cuff. Then another man in a dark suit appeared beside him, broad and expressionless. Phones started lowering. Suddenly, everyone understood that the dangerous man in that aisle was no longer Travis. Call the police, the stranger said. Tell them there's an active restraining order violation. Then he crouched in front of me. His voice softened. Are you hurt?
Tried to answer.
But Willa suddenly pointed at him. Mommy, she whispered. I know that man. My heart stopped because when I looked carefully at his face, I realized I knew him too. But no one in Chicago said Adrian Moretti. Name unless they were certain nobody dangerous was listening. The police arrived less than 3 minutes later. By then, Travis was sitting against the supermarket shelves with his hands behind his back. 2 officers pulled him to his feet. He tried to point at me. She attacked me first. The officer looked at him without emotion. We have 12 witnesses who say otherwise. Then another officer picked up the phone that had been recording the entire incident, and the second I saw that phone in his hand, I knew Travis was finished. But I still couldn't stop shaking. Josie was crying against my side. Willa wouldn't let go of my coat, and Adrian Moretti stood several feet away, watching everything. One of the officers approached me. Ma'am, are you able to breathe normally? I nodded. Barely. He looked at the red marks around my neck. Were you aware your ex-husband violated an active restraining order? Yes. This is not the first time. The officer exchanged a look with his partner. How many times? I swallowed. 3. Adrian suddenly spoke. 4. Everyone turned toward him. I looked at him. He knew. He knew more than he should. The officer frowned. Sir, were you a witness? Adrian reached into his jacket and removed a small black card. He handed it to the officer. The officer looked at it. Then his expression changed. He stepped aside and quietly spoke to his partner. I didn't understand what was happening. Then the officer came back. Ashford. Yes.
You and your daughters should leave with us.
I looked at Adrian.
Why?
The officer hesitated. Because this man may have just saved your life. My heart started pounding. Adrian looked at me. Not because of what happened today. Because Travis has been looking for you for weeks. My blood went cold. How do you know that? He didn't answer. Instead, he looked at my daughters. Then he said something that made the entire world seem to stop. Because I was the one who told your attorney to increase your security. I stared at him. My attorney, I don't understand. Adrian stepped closer. 3 months ago, your lawyer received an anonymous payment that covered your legal fees. My mouth went dry. That was you. He nodded. Why? For the first time, his cold expression changed.
Because your husband wasn't the only person you needed protection from.
I felt a chill move through me. What are you talking about? Adrian looked toward Travis. Your ex-husband has been hiding something. Travis suddenly shouted from across the store. Don't listen to him, Camille. The officer forced him toward the exit. Travis kept yelling, You don't know who he is? Adrian didn't even look at him. Then Travis screamed something that made my stomach drop. Ask him what happened to your father? Everything inside me went silent. My father had been dead for 11 years. And Adrian Moretti had been the last person to see him alive. I looked at Adrian. He didn't deny it. Instead, he quietly said, You deserve to know the truth. Then he looked at my daughters. But not here. Not while someone is still watching. I followed his gaze toward the far end of the supermarket. A man stood near the freezer aisle, pretending to shop. But he wasn't looking at the food. He was looking directly at me. Adrian noticed him too. His jaw tightened. He turned to the other man in the black suit. Take the girls outside. Then he looked at me. Stay behind me. Because the man who had just attacked you wasn't the real threat. The real threat had been watching us the entire time. Adrian Moretti did not move. He simply stood between me and the man near the freezer aisle. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. The supermarket suddenly felt strangely quiet. The man pretending to shop slowly lowered the box of cereal in his hand. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. Adrian looked at his associate. Follow him. The other man immediately disappeared into the crowd. I held Josie and Willa's hands tightly. Who was that man? I whispered. Adrian looked at me. Someone who has been waiting for you to become vulnerable. My stomach twisted. Why me? Because your father left something behind. I stared at him. My father. Adrian nodded. Before he died, your father discovered that Travis was stealing money from a company connected to your family. I shook my head. That's impossible. My father barely spoke to Travis. Exactly. Adrian reached inside his jacket and pulled out a small envelope. He handed it to me. Your father gave this to me 11 years ago. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was an old photograph. My father was standing beside a younger Adrian. I had never seen the picture before. On the back, my father's handwriting was visible. If anything happens to me, protect Camille. I could barely breathe. Why didn't you come to me sooner? Adrian looked away. Because I promised your father I would only reveal the truth when you and your daughters were safe. I looked at my girls. They were standing beside Adrian's associate now. Lucy was holding Willa tightly. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered.
Hello.
Nobody spoke. Then a man's voice whispered, You should have listened to Travis. The call ended. My blood ran cold. Adrian took the phone from my hand. He looked at the screen. Then his expression became completely emotionless. He knew the number. Who is it? He didn't answer. Instead, he made another call. Get the car ready. We are leaving now. I grabbed his arm. No, you owe me answers. He looked directly into my eyes. And this time, he did hide anything. Your father didn't die in an accident, Camille. My heart stopped. He was murdered. The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. Who killed him? Adrian hesitated. The same organization that has been protecting Travis for years. Then the lights came back on. Police officers rushed into the corridor. But the man was gone. We searched every exit. Nothing. One officer approached Adrian. Sir, we need to talk to you. Adrian looked at him. Not now. The officer lowered his voice. We found something in the parking garage. A vehicle registered to Travis. My stomach dropped. What did they find? The officer looked at me. A second phone and a folder with your name on it. I felt dizzy. The folder was opened on a nearby table. Inside were photographs. My apartment, my workplace, my daughter's school, the grocery store, even the park where Josie and Willa played. Someone had been watching us for months. Then I saw the final photograph. It was taken that morning. My daughters were walking toward the supermarket entrance. Someone had photographed them from across the street. I started shaking. Adrian placed his hand over the photograph. This ends tonight. I looked at him. How? He pulled out his phone. By making them believe they finally have what they want. What do they want? Me. Adrian shook his head. No, they want what your father left behind. I stared at him. What did my father leave? Adrian reached into his coat and removed a small key. Your father left a safe. Where? He looked at my daughters. Somewhere nobody would think to search. I waited. Adrian finally said, your old family house. I felt my heart sink. That house had been abandoned for years. I thought everything inside had been sold. Adrian looked at me. Not everything. And when we get there, you're going to find out why your father trusted me. He turned toward the exit. But before we could leave, my phone buzzed again. This time, the message contained only 6 words. We have your daughter's school principal. I froze. Adrian read the message. His face changed. He looked at me. They just made their biggest mistake. Because now they have given me a reason to stop playing defense. Adrian Moretti made one phone call. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't panic. He simply said 4 words. Find the principal now. Then he hung up. I stared at him. What if they hurt her? They won't. How can you be sure? Because they didn't take her. I frowned. What? Adrian pointed at my phone. They want you to believe they have her, so you'll panic. Then why send a message? To make you run.
Where?
To the old Ashford house. My blood went cold. They know about the safe. Adrian nodded. And they know you're the only person who can open it. I looked at my daughters. Josie was holding Willa's hand. Both girls were exhausted and frightened. I crouched beside them. We're going somewhere safe. Willa looked at Adrian. Is he coming with us? I smiled weakly.
Yes.
Adrian crouched down. You two are very brave. Josie stared at him. Are you the man who saved Mommy? He smiled slightly. I tried. Josie shook her head. No, you did. For the first time, I saw something human in Adrian's eyes. He looked at her for a moment. Then he stood. Let's go. We left through a private exit. 2 black vehicles waited outside. I hesitated before getting inside. Adrian opened the door. You can stay here and wait for the police. Or you can come with me and finally learn why your father died. I looked at my daughters. Then I got in. The drive to the old Ashford house took less than 20 minutes. The house looked exactly as I remembered it. Dark, empty, forgotten. I hadn't been there since my father's funeral. Adrian unlocked the front door. How do you have a key? Your father gave it to me. We stepped inside. Dust covered everything. The furniture was still there. The old piano, my father's desk, the framed family photographs. I walked toward the desk. My hands trembled. Adrian stopped me. Look underneath. I crouched down. There was a small metal plate attached beneath the desk. I pressed it. A hidden compartment opened. Inside was a black box. I stared at it. The safe. Adrian nodded. I picked up the box. There was a small keyhole. Adrian handed me the key. I inserted it. The lock clicked. Inside were documents, bank records, photographs, contracts, and a small flash drive. I picked it up. What is this? The evidence that can destroy everyone who was involved. I looked at him, including Travis. Especially Travis. Then I found an envelope. My name was written on it. Camille. My hands shook as I opened it. My father's voice played from a tiny recording device inside. My daughter, if you're hearing this, then Adrian kept his promise. I looked at Adrian. My father continued. You may hate him. You may fear him. But he is the only man I trusted to protect you. Tears filled my eyes. Then my father's voice became serious. Travis betrayed our family. He gave information to the people who wanted me dead, and he will eventually come after you. My heart broke, but there was one final sentence. Don't seek revenge, Camille. Seek justice? I closed my eyes. For years I had wanted revenge, but now I understood. My father had left me something more powerful than revenge. Poof! Suddenly, the front door slammed shut. Adrian turned around. Everyone stay here. A man's voice echoed through the hallway. Camille, I know you're inside. I recognized the voice immediately. Travis. Adrian stepped in front of us. Travis laughed. You finally found the box. Then he said something that made Adrian go completely still. You should have told her the truth about us. I looked at Adrian. What truth? Travis stepped into the doorway, and for the first time, I saw fear in Adrian's eyes. He looked at me. Camille, I need to tell you something before he does. Travis smiled. Too late. Adrian Moretti is not your father's friend. He is your father's son. For several seconds, I could not breathe. Not because Travis was holding my throat this time, but because of what he had just said. Adrian Moretti is your father's son. I looked at Adrian. He said nothing. Travis laughed from the doorway. You never told her, did you, Adrian? Adrian finally looked at me. It's true. My mind went blank. My father had never mentioned another son. Not once. Why? Adrian took a slow breath. Because your father didn't know I was alive until years after you were born. I stared at him. Then explain. He looked toward the black box. Your father had a relationship with my mother before he met yours. I was born from that relationship. But my mother disappeared when I was young. Your father spent years trying to find me. When he finally did, he was already being watched. I looked at the evidence inside the box, and you knew all of this. Adrian nodded. Your father found me 3 years before he died. He helped me build a new life. Then he discovered the people stealing from his company. The same people who eventually killed him. Travis interrupted. And Adrian wanted revenge. Adrian turned toward him. No, I wanted justice. Travis laughed. You call what you did justice. Adrian stepped forward. You were the one who sold information about Camille. You were the one who gave them her location. You were the one who tried to make her disappear. My stomach twisted. I looked at Travis. Why? He stared at me. Because your father left everything to you. I froze. What? Travis smiled. The company, the accounts, the property, everything. I shook my head. My father died years ago. The inheritance was gone. No. Travis said it was never gone. Your father hid it, and when you turned 35, it legally became yours. I looked at Adrian. Is that true? He nodded. Your father created a trust. But there was a condition. What condition? Adrian looked at me. You had to survive without knowing about it. I almost laughed. That sounds insane. It was the only way your father believed he could keep you alive. Then I understood. The restaurant job. The tiny apartment. The years of struggling. My father had left me millions, and I had been living paycheck to paycheck. Not because he forgot me, but because someone had been waiting for me to claim it. Travis stepped forward. Give me the box. I shook my head. No. His face changed. Camille. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of him. You don't get anything. He pulled a weapon. Adrian moved instantly. But before he could reach Travis, the front door burst open. Police officers rushed inside. Drop the weapon. Travis froze. Adrian looked at me. I knew the police were coming. I stared at him. You called them? He nodded. Then another officer entered, carrying a laptop. We recovered the surveillance files. Everything is backed up. Travis slowly dropped the weapon as officers arrested him. He looked at me. You think this is over? I looked at him calmly. No, I think it's finally beginning. Weeks later, Travis stood trial. The supermarket footage, the phone records, the photographs,
The financial documents.
and my father's evidence were presented in court. The restraining order violation alone could not erase everything he had done, but combined with the financial crimes and conspiracy, it was enough. He was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison. The people behind him were arrested too. And for the first time in years, I slept without checking the logs 5 times. The inheritance changed my life, but I didn't become the woman Travis expected me to become. I didn't chase revenge. I chose justice. I bought a small home where Josie and Willa had a backyard. I opened a restaurant for single mothers who needed flexible work.
And Adrian.
He remained part of our lives, not as a hero, not as a savior, but as the brother I never knew I had. One Saturday morning, the girls were eating ice cream in the backyard. Willa looked at me and smiled. "Mommy, can we have sprinkles?" I laughed. "As many as you want." Adrian stood near the porch watching us. Josie ran toward him. "Uncle Adrian, catch me." He smiled and opened his arms. For the first time, I realized something. Travis had spent years trying to convince me that I was powerless, but he was wrong. I had survived him. I had protected my daughters, and when the truth finally came out, I didn't need revenge. I had something better. A future he could never take away from me. 6 months after Travis was sentenced, I thought the worst part of my life was finally behind me. For the first time in years, I stopped looking over my shoulder. Josie and Willa had settled into their new school. The restaurant was doing better than I ever imagined, and the Ashford Trust had finally been transferred into my name. I thought I was free. Then one morning I received a letter. There was no return address. Inside was a single photograph. My father was standing beside a woman I had never seen before. On the back, someone had written, "You found the money, but you never found the truth." My hands started shaking. I immediately called Adrian. He arrived 20 minutes later. The moment he saw the photograph, his expression changed. "Where did you get this?" "It came in the mail." He turned the photograph over. Then he looked at me. "Camille, this woman is your father's first wife." I stared at him. My father had been married before. "Yes." Adrian sat down. "And there's something you need to know. Your father didn't have only one child." I felt my stomach drop. "You mean there is another sibling?" Adrian nodded. "A daughter. My half-sister." I looked at the photograph again. "Who is she?" Adrian hesitated. "Her name is Elena." "Where is she?" "Nobody knows." My heart began racing. Why would someone send me this now? Because someone wants you to find her, or wants you to believe she's alive. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about the photograph, the woman, my father, and the mysterious message. The next morning, another envelope arrived. This time, there was a flash drive inside. Adrian connected it to a laptop. The video appeared. My father's face filled the screen. But this recording was different. He looked frightened. "If Camille is watching this, then the people who killed me may have discovered Elena." I covered my mouth. My father continued, "Elena knows where the original records are hidden. Records that prove who ordered my death." Adrian paused the video. The room went silent. I looked at him. "What records?" "The originals, not copies." The evidence inside the black box was enough to convict Travis and the others. But my father had kept something else hidden, something much bigger. Before Adrian could explain, my phone rang. "Unknown number," I answered. A woman whispered, "Camille, I know who you are." I froze. "Who's this?" "My name is Elena." Adrian immediately stood up. The woman continued, "Your father was my father too." I started crying. "Where are you?" There was a long silence. Then she said, "I need you to come alone." I looked at Adrian. The call ended. A location appeared in a text message, an abandoned train station on the south side of Chicago. Adrian shook his head. "You are not going." I looked at him. "She's my sister. And whoever she is, she knows exactly how to make you walk into a trap." I stared at the message. Then another message appeared. "Ring Adrian if you want." but you must come unarmed. Adrian read it. His expression became cold. You know about me. Then my phone buzzed again. This time it was a photograph. It showed Josie and Willa leaving school that afternoon. My blood ran cold. Underneath the picture were 7 words. Next time, we won't just take photographs. Adrian immediately grabbed his jacket. Now we go. I looked at him. Where? To find your sister and whoever is threatening your daughters. Because this time, they had crossed the line even Adrian Reddy would not forgive. Adrian drove faster than I had ever seen him drive. Neither of us spoke. The photograph of Josie and Willa was still on my phone. I kept staring at it. My hands were shaking. Adrian finally broke the silence. Your daughters are safe. How do you know? Because I already moved them. I looked at him. When? Before we left your house. I turned around. How? He gave me a brief look. Because I learned a long time ago that the safest plan is the one nobody knows about. We reached the abandoned train station just before midnight. The place was almost completely dark. Broken lights hung from the ceiling.
All tracks disappeared into the distance.
Adrian parked several blocks away. We walked the rest of the distance. Then we heard a voice. Camille. I stopped. A woman stepped out from behind the concrete pillar. She looked about my age. Dark hair, tired eyes, and a small scar above her eyebrow. She looked at me for several seconds. Then she whispered, You really are my sister. I could barely speak. Elena. She nodded. I stepped toward her. But Adrian raised his hand. Wait. Elena looked at him. You're Adrian Moretti. Yes. My father told me about you. Adrian immediately became alert. What did he tell you? That you were supposed to protect Camille. He never said you would protect me. Elena reached into her coat. Adrian moved forward. She pulled out a small envelope. No, a weapon. She handed it to me. This was my father's last letter. I opened it. Camille, if you found Elena, then the people hunting our family are closer than ever. Trust her. She has something I could not protect. I looked at Elena. What do you have? She took a small metal key from around her neck. The original records. My heart raced. Where? She looked toward the dark tracks. Somewhere nobody would ever think to look. Before she could explain, a car door slammed in the distance. Adrian immediately turned. We're not alone. 3 men stepped onto the platform. Then, a 4th. Adrian moved between us. Elena whispered. They found me. One of the men called out. Adrian Moretti. We know you're there. Adrian didn't answer. The man continued. You have something that belongs to us? Adrian looked at me. Stay behind me. The lights suddenly came on. The 4 men spread across the platform. One of them smiled. This has gone on long enough. Then another voice came from behind them. Actually, it hasn't gone on nearly long enough. Everyone turned. A woman walked onto the platform. She was older, elegant, calm, and completely unafraid. Elena stepped backward. I know her. My heart stopped. Who is she? Elena whispered. Your father's first wife. The woman looked directly at me. Hello, Camille. I've been waiting a very long time to meet you. He stared at her. Why are you here? She smiled. Because your father didn't die because of money. He died because he discovered who I really was. Adrian stepped forward. You killed him. The woman smiled again. No, Adrian. I didn't kill your father. I gave the order. The entire station seemed to go silent. Elena grabbed my hand. Camille, we need to leave. But the woman raised her phone. Before you go, you should know something. She pressed a button. A video appeared on her screen. It showed my mother. Alive. My breath caught. My mother had been dead for 12 years. I looked at Adrian. He looked just as shocked. The woman whispered, Your mother isn't dead. She has been hiding from me for 12 years. Then she looked at Elena. And your sister knows exactly where she is. Elena started crying. I didn't want you to know like this. I stared at her. Where is my mother? Elena looked at me. Then she said 4 words that changed everything. Just with your daughters. My entire body went cold. Just with your daughters. Elena repeated. I wanted to believe I had misunderstood her, but I hadn't. My mother was alive, and somehow she was with Josie and Willa. Adrian immediately pulled out his phone, called the safe house. The call connected. A security officer answered. Sir, the girls are safe. Where is my mother? I demanded. There was silence. Then the officer said, She's here with them. My knees nearly gave out. Put her on the phone. A few seconds later, I heard a voice I hadn't heard in 12 years. Camille. I covered my mouth. Mom. I could barely speak. I heard her crying. I'm sorry, baby. I thought you were dead. I know. Why didn't you come back? Because if I came back, they would have found you. Ooh. My mother's voice trembled. The woman at the station. I looked at her. She was still standing there calmly. My mother continued. Her name is Victoria Ashford. She was your father's first wife. She controlled the company from behind the scenes. And when your father discovered what she had done, she tried to silence him. I looked at Victoria. You ordered my father's death. Victoria smiled. Your father betrayed me.
No. I said,
He exposed you. For the first time, her smile disappeared. Adrian stepped closer. Where is the evidence, Victoria? She laughed softly. You think the black box is everything? Then she looked at Elena. Ask your sister what she did. I turned toward Elena. She was crying. What is she talking about? Elena wiped her eyes. I was young. Victoria found me after your father died. She told me that if I ever spoke about what I knew, she would kill Mom. So you helped her. I whispered. Elena shook her head. I helped her hide the truth. I never helped her hurt you. Then Victoria raised her phone again. The screen showed another video. It was Travis. But this recording had been made before his arrest. He was speaking to Victoria. The Ashford money is protected. He said, Camille doesn't know how to access it. Victoria answered. Then make her desperate. My stomach twisted. The abuse, the threats, the stalking, everything Travis had done. It had all been part of a plan. They wanted to force me into giving them access to my father's hidden accounts. I looked at Adrian. He understood immediately. Your father knew this might happen. He prepared the trusts so they could never access it without Camille. Victoria looked at me. Your father was clever, but not clever enough. She raised her hand. The four men surrounding us moved closer. Adrian stepped in front of me. Victoria smiled. You have two choices, Camille. Give me the key, or your mother dies. I looked at the small key around Elena's neck. Then I looked at Adrian. He quietly shook his head. Don't do it. Victoria laughed. You really think he can save everyone? Then suddenly, the sound of police sirens filled the station. Victoria turned. Her face changed. Adrian smiled for the first time. You should have asked who was watching you. The lights around the station came on. Police officers surrounded the platform. Behind them stood a federal prosecutor. She stared at Adrian. You planned this. He nodded. Your father left instructions for exactly this moment. Victoria looked at me. You think this changes anything? I stepped forward.
yes.
It changes everything. For years, you controlled my family through fear. You took my father. You took my mother.
You tried to take my daughters.
But you forgot one thing. I was no longer the frightened woman Travis attacked in that supermarket. I was the woman who had finally learned the truth. Victoria was arrested that night. But before she was taken away, she looked at me and whispered, You still don't know what your father really left behind. I watched the police escort her away. Then my mother arrived. She ran toward me. And after 12 years, I finally held her again. But when I looked at Adrian, he wasn't smiling. He was staring at the small key in Elena's hand. Because whatever Victoria had been afraid of, Adrian already knew. And he was terrified of what we were about to find. 3 years later, I stood in the backyard of the home I once thought I could never afford. Josie and Willa were running through the grass, laughing as their grandmother watched them from the porch. Elena was helping them decorate a birthday cake, and Adrian stood near the fence, smiling quietly. I looked around at everything we had built. For years, I thought revenge meant making the people who hurt me suffer. But I finally understood.
Revenge was never about becoming like them.
It was about refusing to let them decide what my life would become. Travis was still serving his sentence. Victoria and the others had been held accountable for what they had done. My father's name had finally been cleared, and the truth he had spent his life protecting was finally known. But the greatest victory wasn't seeing them punished. It was seeing my daughters grow up without fear. That evening, Josie ran toward me, holding a bowl of vanilla ice cream. "Mommy, can we have sprinkles?" I laughed. "Of course." Willa came running behind her. "Lots of sprinkles." I smiled. "As many as you want." They ran back toward the table. I looked at the sunset and remembered that Saturday in the supermarket. The broken milk carton, the screaming, the fear, and the stranger in the black suit who quietly removed his watch and rings before stepping between me and the man who had spent years trying to destroy me. Back then, I thought Adrian had saved me, but now I knew the truth. He had only opened the door. I was the one who walked through it. I was the one who found the courage to leave. I was the one who protected my daughters. I was the one who chose justice instead of becoming consumed by revenge. And that was my real victory. Not the money, not the courtroom. To watching my enemies fall. It was waking up every morning knowing that my daughters were safe, knowing my mother was beside me, knowing my family had survived, and knowing that the life I had now belonged completely to me. I looked at Josie and Willa laughing together. Then I whispered, "We finally made it. No more running, no more hiding, no more fear. Just a family enjoying something as simple as ice cream. This time, nobody could take that moment away from us." The end. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more amazing revenge stories. See you in the next story.